So I've noticed recently that there has been a good chunk of discourse about the current state of Sea of Thieves. A lot of it's negative and gripes with certain aspects of the game. This is part of a cycle of the game that we often see, but I'm going to delve into the talking points about why a lot of people are worried about the overall state of the game. Keep in mind, I don't really share these opinions, I'm just discussing them as I have observed over social media. Just to set the record straight, Sea of Thieves naturally goes through cycles. Historically, the second half of the year is always quieter, be it through external forces or to do with the game itself. I think in the history of the game, 2 years have been interesting and 3 generally have been really quiet. As Fuzzybond has put it, September is the point in which many people will return to school and work instead of playing games. This happened last year after A Pirate's Life launched in Season 3 and only recovered briefly when Season 4 launched, and then it dipped again. The same looks to be happening with August's release of Captaincy with Season 7. Before this though, 2018 was jumping because of the Shrouded Spoils smart release, 2019 because of the uptick of monthly updates around Fort of the Damned, and 2020 was really quiet following the Fate of the Damned update and some general discontent with the monthly update system. So yeah, let's get into the fanbase's concerns. Firstly, adventures have gone from a positive experience to a bit of a negative one in the core fanbase's eyes. I imagine new players and Game Pass players are still downloading the game every time a new one is released, but as of Season 7, I have definitely seen the opinion change. Hunter's Cry was a black eye for many, and Rare have admitted they are learning from the experience, and Siren's Prize was my favourite so far. That is an unpopular opinion though. The problems stem from adventures being the only activities post-seasonal launch and still need some general improvements to make them more accommodating for all players. A lot of people have complained they offer no new gameplay ideas and retread old content. This much is true, although only when you seem to disregard the climaxes of each arc. I would argue we have more good adventures than we've had bad ones though. Shrouded Islands was an exciting change to the map, and while the gameplay wasn't perfect, the story it set up and the teasing was brilliant. Shrouded Deep is many people's favourites, a cinematic set piece that can only be let down by people griefing you or being unable to find the 5th player to start the battle. But the sequel to The Hungering Deep really was a visual and audio treat. Lost Sands wasn't the best quest in terms of gameplay, but added a new tool, even temporarily. #bring back Soulflame rowboats. The community engagement was incredible for this one, and certainly was new ground for Sea of Thieves. We also get the joy of fighting over something else later this year. The Siren's Prize was a great return to form with the Flame Art storyline continuing, giving us a reason to return to the Sunken Kingdom and to learn some new backstory about the Ancients. I think Herald of the Flame will be a great adventure based on the hints, well, the hints that beat you over the head with the context, and Adventure 9 should be a return to form and compete with the Shrouded Deep, especially if it relates to the Fort of the Damned. As I'm generally positive about new story additions, I know lots of people really don't care for the story, and I sort of understand that point of view. Story and lore have always been intended as part of Sea of Thieves. Hell, there's a novel released on day one that is complimentary reading for the game. The devs strive to create Shores of Gold based on player feedback as well. On the other hand, lots of people will want to jump on and PvP with other players, which is a key facet of the game's design. Adventures don't cater to that playstyle, and it conflicts with that in lots of places. Another point I see brought up is the time-limited nature of this content. It's content that has a chunk of dev time put into it, away from other pinch points, and the content is vaulted forever after 2 weeks. If you miss it, it's gone for good. And story fans can also be spurned by this, even if the rapid release progresses the story quicker than before. Chapters come out in weeks now, not years. Because of Adventures 2, the roadmap has been altered and the seasons extended. We haven't had delays to this scale before, and as soon as we get Adventures, the roadmap and content release cycle gets flipped on its head. Personally, I want Adventures to keep going as complements to the big seasonal releases, but if they are at odds with one another, we need a change. But let's walk it back a little bit. A vocal portion of the community have felt very hard done by as of recently. With Arena's closure in March and Season 7 not having any PvP milestones coming out, they certainly felt hard done by. I see that point of view and will give them more credit than a lot of you. Most PvP players are core members of the community, and only the minority of the shitheads you see in Hunter's Cry spawn camping people. That whole situation was part poor foresight from a design perspective, but also these subgroups airing their frustrations on a piece of content they see as playing part in the removal of Arena. Does it make it okay? Absolutely fucking not. But I can't lie and say PvP hasn't had any good updates in a while. Hit reg, while being worked on, is still a problem, the sword has been improved but remains inconsistent, and there's no incentives for PvP as of now, and Rare is caught between a rock and a hard place. They can release some new PvP features and the PvE softies moan they're encouraging griefing. Hint, they're not. Or PvP fans moan that all of the content is for PvE players. These are both loud ends of the spectrum. I am of the opinion that more updates need to come out that caters to Sea of Thieves' risk versus reward style, where PvPvE as a sandbox is the main focus. Blurbs made a video about Rare selling a lie to new players, where PvP isn't something marketed but a gripe they'll find out when trying to complete the Sunken Pearl or Adventure 18 Flameheart's bollocks. In a sense, this is kind of true. When players are told they're going on an adventure to save the Sea of Thieves from Davy Jones, this is what they expect. Then a sweaty galleon ruins their day and they cry foul. But it's also on the player to research a game when they buy it, so can we really blame Rare for this one? A big thing I have noticed is how the marketing has evolved. Rare in the run up to release and afterwards always let you know, hey, this is a shared world where people can be friends or foes, and that's part of the excitement. Now it's more like, look at this deep and rich lore we have, live out your ultimate pirate fantasy and fight monsters, skeletons, and get rich. No one's pirate fantasy is getting killed in a battle before you even realise what happened. You see where I'm coming from? The game is sort of at odds there, where we can have the pirate fantasy, the great storytelling and the heart-pounding encounters between players, but Rare is not big enough to continue to cater to everyone. Have you ever heard of the saying, if you try to please everyone, you please no one? Maybe this is a case of that. I don't think so, but let me know in the comments. Sticking with the content release, I believe that this year has been a bit of a recipe for disaster. The content released hasn't been bad, but you'll see what I mean once I've explained this. It started out really strong with Season 6. We'd been given this glorious roadmap with plenty of Sea of Thieves. That awesome showcase in January really hyped everyone up. Sea Forts were a great surprise and I still use them today. Adventures were fresh and exciting, then Legend of the Veil came out as a roaring success on the same day as the best adventure. Then Lost Sands thundered onto the scene, which pumped the engagement through the roof. After this is when the domino effect sort of happened. Season 7 got a hefty delay of an extra 5 weeks, which made the season around 4.5 months. All is fine as the season was the fabled Captaincy update and people were really excited, myself included. Then shortly before the release, another 2-week delay hit. This was the big one, as it knocked everything afterward off course. I think the game would have been fine if not for this little delay. So what really happened? Season 7's delay for 2 weeks caused the next adventure to come out 2 weeks later as well. This meant 5 months between the seasons and 6 weeks between the adventure releases. When Season 7 releases, it's arguably one of the biggest we've received, but also one of the buggiest. There were lots of game-breaking bugs, even after the 2-month delay, and some of which, like saving cosmetics, were supposedly patched last Thursday. The issue still persists. Even more so, Season 7 is set to last 4 months, pushing Season 8 back from September to November. Now, 2 of the massive content updates are delayed 2 months respectively. It really bogs down the momentum from Season 6 and that amazing showcase. Season 8's delay hasn't really been acknowledged outside of the response from Joe Neat, saying we all have enough time to complete our season passes. This here is my opinion, but Captaincy was enough for a season, but not a season a third of a year long. If you don't like adventures as we mentioned, then you can see why this general discontent has built. Which is also a nice segue to my last point, the bugs. Sea of Thieves has generally been a stable game. I remember it was decently polished at launch, and as the game has gotten more complex, bugs have popped up. This isn't my opinion now, but I've seen lots of people say we need to stop releasing content and patch the bugs. I see that view, but I think it would actually kill the game. It doesn't cause engagement, it's not exciting, and it won't be as thrilling as you think. Not to mention, there'll probably be new bugs pop up after that content releases anyway. I will agree though that the bugs have gotten serious this season. Lots of it derives from server performance like hit reg, lag spikes, rubber banding, etc. I could be wrong here, it seems as though this twofold attack of adventures and seasons is building up technical debt, as there is a quicker turnaround time and not enough time to ensure each patch is in the best state possible. It's just a bit of a perfect storm on why the game feels a bit meh at the moment. But Sea of Thieves will be bright again in the future, the next few months are still very exciting, to me anyway, and I still play the game at every chance I get when I'm not making videos for you lot. We're just in a bit of a rut at the moment, and we're going to have to wait for the next hype moment in 2 months' time. Jeez, that's quite awful to hear. Anyway, at least we have the Herald of the Flame next week to look forward to which I have a feeling will be very spicy, to say the least. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and make sure to subscribe.